Welcome to The Quad, the new Board Game Geek show where four questionable characters from around the world of hobby gaming meet to discuss game-related topics. Each one of us will argue, defend, or fight to have our chosen example shown to be the best example in the given topic of this week's show. I'm Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming. I'm a hobby game entrepreneur, game media personality, game industry veteran. You can find me all over social media, especially on my Facebook group, the Podfather of Gaming group, and my YouTube channel called the Podfather of Gaming. Plus, my very long-running podcast called Board Games Insider, available in both audio and video formats on my YouTube channel. Somebody here might be part of that podcast.
Nice. I am Candice Harris, a media creator for BoardGameGeek. I'm excited to be here. You can find me anywhere online at Candydrum, which is Candidrum. And I host Cardboard Creations, which is a game designer interview series. I host the Board Game Geek podcast, which I love doing. And I love talking to people about board games. So that's me.
Awesome. Hey, my name is Matthew McCack. I am one half of the owner of Room 51, where we talk about all things board gaming. It's on YouTube. You could catch us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Room51Live, where we stream all things board gaming. And I'm on Our Family Plays Games Voices from time to time, which is really cool. And you can find us also on all kinds of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at This Is Room 51.
Wow, you guys are so impressive. I'm the guest this week. I'm Corey Thompson. I'm the news coordinator for the Dice Tower. I do an interview site called Dice Tower Dish, which you can find on Twitter. I also do the Dice Tower Now podcast. I do the Board Games Insider podcast. And recently, I'm executive producer of a new YouTube channel called Above Board TV. So check it out.
That is awesome. Thanks for joining us, Corey. Today, we are going to discuss, drum roll, Derek, best games for 5 players. Each one of us is going to tell you why our example is the best of these games, or our favorite in the genre, or what just makes it special in the category. First, as we always do, let's define the category of best games for 5 players. Guys, I got this one. It's a game that plays with 5 players. Okay, while that sounds easy enough to digest,
I did it totally wrong.
This did not come without controversy, amazingly enough. First we had Candice. She insisted that it couldn't be a party game, but that's reasonable. And since most party games shine with more than 5 players anyway, it wasn't a particularly big restriction. But then we got the complaining from a certain guest host. Corey, what was your objection to this topic?
I've been watching the Quad, and I know I'm an episode behind because there's a little delay between recording and presenting, but this is the worst topic. I wanted all the other topics that you guys did. 5-player games. When I get 5 players together, I have so much trouble finding a game. 4 is great. 6 or more is great. 5 is like the no man's land. So I panicked a little bit over this one. I have to be honest with you.
And Corey, you just defined the exact reason why this is a great topic for us to bring up. We're going to be telling everybody when they've got 5 players, what's the best 5-player game to put on the table. Okay, so let's begin with the presentations now. Matthew, why don't you take it away and tell us what your pick for best game for 5 players is?
Yeah, so starting off strong with my pick is Battlestar Galactica, the board game. This came out in 2008. It is for 3 to 6 players, published by Fantasy Flight Games. Designer was Corey Konieczka. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. But this game is...
That's how you pronounce it.
Thank you. But yeah, no, this game is awesome. It's all about, if you've watched Battlestar Galactica, the show, then this is super up your alley. Even if you haven't watched it, it is just a great sci-fi space game where there's certain people who are Cylons or robots, and you're not entirely sure who's who, right? And as you're going, you might be playing as human, but as the game progresses, you might actually find out you're not human. You're actually a Cylon as well, and so you're trying to find out who your teammates are, and you're trying to survive and pretty much destroy the Battlestar Galactica, which is the spaceship that you are on. If you're a human, you are trying to survive this whole massive onslaught of Cylons that are coming after you. Meanwhile, you're trying to figure out who's against you, and you're just trying to jet out from the Cylons that are chasing you, and then trying to get to I forget which planet it's called. It's not Earth, is it? It's a different kind of planet that's kind of like Earth, really. But anyway, it's very cool. It's all about like card play, where your cards have certain special abilities. Everybody's trying to play cards to make sure that objective succeeds. Or if you're the Cylon, you really want to make sure that objective does not succeed without you getting caught. This one is fantastic. There's a lot of personality in this game. You get to play as the characters of the show itself with all of their special abilities and their characteristics. Something I really love is the you have your like character flaw. So there's a certain thing where it's like, you're not so great at this one thing. So, but then you also have something that you're really good at, which I love. I love that. And I love that even though you might be a human in the first half of the game, you could switch over to the dark side by the second half of the game. This game totally plays the best at 5 players, I think, because 3 players is okay. You could play it, but not really. I mean, especially with the intrigue and the who's who. 4 players gets a little wonky because of the I forgot what it's called, the person who sides with the humans even though they're a Cylon, and then but 5 players, man, does it shine, because 6 players you have to play with that card as well, but 5 players is perfect. You got the perfect amount of players for the intrigue, the mistrust, right? And just having everything go beautifully and having the story really unravel. So that is my pick. Battlestar Galactica, the best 5-player game on this whole freaking list.
Well,
all right.
It's a really good game, no doubt. I'm going to put 2 points forward. 1, slightly longer than Twilight Imperium. 2, it is really best at maximum players and set aside an entire day for it. So I think those are just non-arguable points.
And let me expand. Let me expound on that, Matthew. Let me see. By the way, Battlestar Galactica, one of my favorite games, 10-rated game, absolutely great. When you have a whole day to play, like Corey is saying, this is a 3, 4, 5 hour game. It just keeps going and going and going, which is okay because it's that good. However, as Corey pointed out, maximum player count, which I think in the base game is 6,
and then more.
But I think you play with 7. Can't you play with 7 with at least one of the expansions? Yeah, right. So
I'm talking total base game. You don't even need expansions.
Max player count is what you need. So you need the 6th, the 7th player, whatever you go to, for the most intrigue, the most backstabbiness, the most confusion on the table. So great game, wrong player count. Not 5. You need 6, 7 the most.
Okay, I'm going to chime in here. First of all, Battlestar Galactica is never as long as Twilight Imperium. We do have to correct that.
The heck?
But I agree with everybody that it's definitely like one of my favorite games. And, I have this like really cool story of how I found a copy of it when it was out of print, and I love playing it. But my ding is also going to be that it takes a long time to play. I know there are some groups that are like, oh, they can play it on a weeknight pretty quickly. I don't know how I feel at 5 versus 6, but usually games like this, you do want the higher player count. But it's mostly, I think it's just not my recommendation as the best game to play with 5 players because it takes a long time. Not as long as Twilight Imperium ever, but a long time to play.
It's comedic hyperbole.
Yeah, hyperbole. This game takes
But it's really long.
maximum 5 hours.
Oh, is that all? I'm sorry.
That's
I could see.
It usually takes 3 to 4. Okay, 3 to 4. Okay, because it's epic. It's telling a story, people. You're not getting it. And
It's a fantastic game.
Fantastic.
On BoardGameGeek itself,
Yes.
69% of people who voted on this said that it is not recommended at more than 6. And for sure, it shows that 82% of people said 5 is the best player. So power to the people, baby.
What
So
do the people know?
I literally noticed that too, and I wasn't going to mention it, that the people apparently agree with you, but
The people
but
have
we don't.
spoken,
So
yeah.
and we don't. So that's what counts, I think.
It's the length. It's not. I'll play it with 5 or 6. It's the length that's gonna
Yeah.
drop it off the list for me.
It's great.
But
It's,
I
it is
appreciate
a
you
great
bringing it
game,
up
though.
because it's a great game.
All right, so I think I get to present next, and my game, which is the perfect game at 5 players, is Amun-Re. Originally published in 2003 by Rio Grande Games, Hansam Gluck, 999 Games, and many others over the years. Designer, the good doctor himself, Dr. Rainer Knizia. Mechanics, area majority, auction bidding, fixed placement auctions, constrained bidding, and score and reset game. It plays with 3 to 5 players, plays in 90 minutes, and for ages 12 and above. You are a leader of a royal Egyptian family, a pharaoh of sorts. It is your responsibility to choose the best sites within Egypt to build the Great Pyramids, while, of course, cultivating the land by adding farmers to generate income, and, of course, thanking the god Amun-Re for its bounty and goodness to you and Egypt. In Amun-Re, each player essentially wants to build plenty of pyramids, but not necessarily the most, as sets of pyramids across all your provinces score. Most pyramids on one side of the Nile will score, or the other side. You'll score extra points for power cards based on placement of your pyramids, etc. More on scoring later. The game is played over 6 rounds, 3 in the early era of Egypt, 3 in the late era of Egypt. During each of these rounds, the 5 players, we're talking about a 5-player game, will go through these phases, determine randomly the 5 provinces available to bid on. Not all provinces are equal, so crucially, you got to bid wisely there. Bid for one of the 5 provinces available, and bidding is genius. You can't rebid on the same province if somebody overbids you, a la Vegas Showdown. But guess what? This came before Vegas Showdown, so this was the origination of that mechanic. You buy one of 3 things in this order. Power cards, which enable you to break the rules, and you can only buy a certain amount of power cards based on the provinces you have. You buy farmers, and you buy stones. 3 stones are equal to a pyramid. You sacrifice to the gods, blind bidding any amount of gold. The winning bidder then gets some of those items, and the second gets some. The others get 1 item. But you may steal from the temple, and based on this total bid, you're going to reset the Nile flooding from 1 to 4, and I'll tell you about that effect in a second. Then the gold payouts occur, and the provinces pay out gold based on the number of farmers you have in given provinces times that Nile flooding effect. And that's it. You do this 3 times, 3 rounds, and then you score the early era of Egypt. And you get 1 point per pyramid, 3 points per set of pyramids across your provinces, 5 points for the most pyramids on one side, 5 on the other side, and then X points for the temples you have, where X is temples times that Nile flooding factor. Here is where it gets great. So after you have played 3 rounds and you've scored, meaning the early era is done, you reset the game. This score and reset game mechanic that I mentioned before when I started is genius. And when you reset, you leave all the hard stuff on the board, meaning the pyramids and the stones. They don't go anywhere. They're hard. They're big. But all the squishy bits on the board go away. All the farmers. You remove them all. They die. Big things happen in Egypt. Plagues, a millennia or 2 go by. And then you play the late era, playing 3 more identical rounds, after which you score again to end the game. Now, very importantly, you not only remove the farmers, but you also remove all of your ownership tokens from the provinces. So after the early round scoring, you no longer own those provinces, Every player then vies for all 15 of those provinces again, and you can capitalize on the good things that others have done in those provinces later on. Absolutely genius. But why? Why, you may ask? This is the best game for 5 players. Thank you, Corey, for asking. I know you're asking this question. Why is it the best?
I am.
Best? Math. There are 15 provinces in a 5-player game. 5 provinces come out each round, 3 rounds, 5 provinces, 3 rounds, 15 provinces. In other words, all the provinces will be built during the early era and then again during the late era. In a 3 or 4 player count game, some provinces don't get built on because they don't show up during the early era. So you're going to have these really bad provinces. They're undeveloped going into the late era. It's not nearly as good in 3 and 4. This game was designed for 5 players, and it is just genius. In conclusion, Amun-Re is a fantastic game in and of itself. Dr. Knizia basically created, or popularized at least, the mechanics of fixed placement auctions and score and reset that I discussed. The game creates its own meta within a group. You'll play this game completely differently with an aggressive bidding group versus a laid-back one, and that completely changes the way you'll value properties and things like that. It's just great. And those power cards are amazing. But they're challenging to get because you either have to bid really well in the bidding section or you've got to get the right provinces. I meant the auction section for the provinces or when you sacrifice to the gods. So combining this with math, 15 provinces will be equally distributed among 5 players over the course of 3 rounds. All the provinces are built upon. The early era will be again available later. This makes Amun-Re the best game for 5 players out there. Your Honor, the defense again rests.
So I've never played Amun-Re.
Oh, that's very sad.
Which I've heard of it. I do generally
because
like
she's younger than
Candice
50.
Games. I was going to say the theme of this just does not really draw me in. Like I would definitely want to try it. Like, you know, the scoring and resetting, like it just seems like work, like when I'm setting up the game again. It's something I'll try, but it's something I don't think anyone I've ever played with has ever been like, hey, let's play Amun-Re. Like, so I don't know. I don't know if it, like, I'd rather play Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
it's an
not with
evergreen.
5 players.
So I agree. Amun-Re is a good game, and I am very, very pleased, Master Bonacore, that you have absorbed the importance of math and have worked on your math skills.
5 times 3
However,
is 15.
Yes, you're very good at that. You're very smart. So being influential and foundational does not make you good. And I agree, Amun-Re is influential and foundational. The bidding system is fantastic, and Cyclades did it better. The area control is amazing, and lots of games did it better. The card system is great, and there's an earlier game we might hear about that was foundational in that, and there are later games that did it better. Amun-Re is a great game. It's a Knizia game, and it has a historic, nostalgic kind of feel to me, but I'm not sure I will play it again. There are other games that do it better. As far as best for 5, I actually like the fact that in lower player counts, there are some areas that don't get grabbed up. It adds a variability to the game. Having to bid on poopy places isn't a selling point. But, I mean, bravo, you did not pick the most obscure game on the list.
I'll jump in here real quick. I've not played this game, though I'm intrigued. I don't agree with Candice. The theme does kind of capture me a little bit. Though I don't know if I want to spend my time, like I gathered 4 other people at the same time, same place to play this game where we're just like thanking the gods and whatever, and doing some auctioning like we're at a business or something. It was just like, okay, I have 5 players. I want to play something awesome and epic like Battlestar Galactica. Not like Amun-Re.
But what if you don't have a full weekend?
You don't need a full weekend. Bonacore took like a full weekend just to get to the good part of the game. So,
which is the
Shots
math.
fired.
The math.
The math.
The math adds up. But I do agree with Corey for this one small piece, variability. It sounds like there would be more variability if it was at lower player count, since not everything is coming out. Wrong, Bonacore.
And with that, all wrong opinions, Corey, why don't you tell us about the most obscure game that anybody could possibly have picked for 5 players?
So I picked a game that obviously everybody has heard of. I picked Gloria Mundi, and I have an actual AV aid out here, Gloria Mundi. So this is an early title. The date that I have for it is 2006. It's by James Ernest and Mike Selinker, 2 absolute foundational figures in board game design. And Gloria Mundi has a terrible rulebook. It is hard to learn. It went through a lot of translation issues, but the game itself is amazing, and people are starting to use some of these mechanisms that were in Gloria Mundi, and I'll talk about that in a second. In Gloria Mundi, you have a snaking path through Italy. You start in the middle of the path, and your goal is to move out of Italy, following from the middle to the end of the path. There's also the Goth, the Visigoth. They are invading Italy, and they start at the beginning of the path, and if they make it to the middle where you started, you lose. The game ends. The really cool bit is every turn you are engine building. You have a set of cards that are in 3 colors. There's green cards for wood, white cards for defense, and yellow cards for commerce. When you play a card out into your tableau, you're announcing what kind of turn it is. Like, here's a yellow card, this is a commerce turn. And everybody activates all of their yellow cards. You go through, you collect resources, and there's a ridiculous number of resources. And I do have a love for games with tons of resources and things that cost tons of money. And then the Goth will march down Italy. And every step they move, the players have to pay tribute to the Goth from their resources. If you don't pay tribute, then the Goth marches through every tribute paid spot and destroys cards in players' tableaus. So you're paying to delay the march of the Goth until someone goes, you know what? I'm not going to pay. And now the Goth will absolutely decimate everybody's stuff. But I kind of get to pick the order in which the Goth decimates stuff. And I know it's not going to decimate me as much as it's going to decimate all you guys. There's a market of cards that you buy the cards with the resources you've collected. Yellow cards that you buy have to go on your yellow cards that you've played. You build up a lovely engine that, again, you activate as you play out the color and announce what turn it is. And you're limited on these. You only have, I think it's 12 of the green cards. So if you've used them all, you can't do green turns anymore. You need to pace this stuff out. So, Gloria Mundi, it plays up to 6 players, but at 6, it is a little crowded and chaotic. 5 is an amazing number. You're counting out player spots. You're figuring out who's going to get attacked. Who is the Goth going to mess up? Whose stuff is going to get destroyed? Like, he's going to get this, and he's going to get that, and he's going to get this, and I'm going to be okay, and he's going to get attacked. 5, perfect player count. And I'll bet you money none of you have played it, so you can't argue with me that this is the perfect 5-player game.
Oh, we can argue. Trust me.
I can argue that.
Trust me. And we will.
Oh,
and I will. And I'll
bring it
start.
on. Bring it on.
So, I mean, I don't know where to, first of all, okay, how many games we played together? A lot. How many times we've had 5 players? A lot. How many times you brought this game out? 0. So I think you were confused by the category. You looked at your shelf. You found a game that had 5 somewhere like between that big range because it plays up to 6 players, as I can see here. Yes, up to 6 players. By the way, BoardGameGeek says, since we care about BoardGameGeek, and Matthew certainly picked it as his way of saying it was the best. This plays best, according to the populace, 3 to 4. So where 5 comes from,
the populace is wrong.
I don't know. The populace is wrong. Obviously.
It's so good at 5.
I so look forward to playing this game with you, which has one mechanic in it listed. One mechanic. Hand management. Just think about that for a moment.
There's so much to it. You have to manage your colored cards. You have to buy from the market. You have to manage your resources. And you have to time out how the Goth are coming down and destroying things. That's at least
I'm reading from BoardGameGeek, which knows all. It says hand management. That's it.
To be fair, only about like 14 people have played this game.
14 of them are me. It's such a good
It's all
game.
Corey.
It's
It's all Corey.
Underrepresented delight.
It's something. No, I have not played
All
this
right,
game.
let me tell you about my
did
favorite
watch-
Blotto Shavaddle game.
Okay.
That's great, dude. That is great.
I did look into this game, and at first I was like intrigued. Although I did laugh when I saw that the best player count was like 3 to 4. I was like, okay, Corey, but all right. But I was intrigued by it. I was like, okay, cool. and I watched a video on how it's played and everything, and I was like, wait, so you spend all this time building an engine for it to possibly just kind of be destroyed?
What?
And
like,
then you kind of just
Empire's End, like there's so many games that use the same thing, like London.
Oh,
the card game
don't blame
London is
John
all about
Clare.
build an engine and destroy it.
don't bring John Clare into this. No.
John
This,
Clare into this.
It's the no thanks engine. It's paying off the inevitable destruction.
No, it's paying off nothing. If I had 4 people with me and I brought this out, I'd have 4 very angry people. And I saw the winding road of Italy. And I feel like I was getting confused as to like where people were on this road. I was like, okay, I have to really actually look at this thing and think about, okay, they're over there. I'm over here. I guess I'm ahead. And I was just like, no, this is a mess. This game, like, I'm sure it was a catalyst for
it's a
other
delight.
things, for other
probably
games. But it was, not well executed, possibly not well play tested.
It is
but-
my favorite. It is such a good game. It is my very favorite James Ernest game, and that's saying a lot. He has a lot of games.
You have to
I
kind of
like
wonder,
his-
though. You have to kind of wonder first of all, how long does this game take to play in relation to No Thanks? Because No
Yeah,
Thanks,
but No Thanks is
the
just a
appeal is
card
that
game.
like it's a quick. Yeah, but like when you're destroying somebody's engine, you don't care that much. But I have not played this either yet, Corey. It sounds intriguing, like some of the tableau
It does.
building. It does sound intriguing.
Yeah.
I just have to wonder why, like, as somebody who often seeks out people's hidden gems list, and just have talked to so many people, no one's ever brought this game up.
You're
I
hanging
don't
out with the
know.
wrong people.
And the fact that the people are saying it's best with 3 to 4. So you've only played this at 5.
Only 5 or 6.
That's
yes.
true. Only
Yeah,
5 or
that's
6.
true.
Okay.
And I've played it
In that-
many, many times.
In that part of your defense, which I loathe to do, I mean, I always like to go toward the higher player counts because I'm a social gamer, so I love bringing it to the higher player counts,
But
including
it's
games like Battlestar
thematic,
Galactica.
Steven.
But
You love thematic.
it's thematic,
I just,
really. Okay.
Corey, I usually we did the podcast episode together talking about our deck builders, and you had some great picks. So I like to think you have good judgment, but I just don't think that this is the best game to be played with 5 players. I would like to try it. I think there probably is something interesting.
You're telling me I'm going
to it.
senile, is what you're saying.
I'm demanding that I play this game, Corey, at Gen Con with you. So
Yeah.
just make sure you bring it at Gen
yes.
Con.
Pack it.
Me too.
All right.
Pack it.
Yes.
I'm sure they'll
Perfect.
have a copy at Gen Con.
Hey, we're all going to be at Gen Con, right?
Woo! Yes.
We're all going to be
Yeah,
there.
bring it to
Corey,
Gen
we're
Con.
playing
I will
this
bring it
game,
to
the
Gen
4 of
Con.
us. All right.
Well, it's funny because this will be out after Gen Con.
I know.
This
Sorry,
episode.
sorry, audience. This will be out after Gen Con. But But before we move on to Candice, we've picked some pretty old games here at 2020, 2003, at 2005, at 2008, right? So obviously Candice is going to pick a newer game than that, right, Candice?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna pick a game that still feels new because it's better than so many new games. My
I'm
choice
taking
for
notes.
my choice for a 5-player game. If you have 5 people, you should be playing El Grande for sure. Okay, let's talk about this. And I will say, unless you're somebody who likes multiplayer solitaire kind of games, then stay away from this because this is competitive and has player interaction. But El Grande is a game designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich, originally published by Humza Gluck in 1995. Yes, that is way back in the day. But this game is considered to be the granddaddy of area control games, and it won the Spiel des Jahres in 1996. I don't think anyone else can say that their game won the Spiel des Jahres in any year. And at this point, do I even need to say anything else, or can I just stop here? Are we good?
You might want to give us a little
I picked
more.
the game. Okay. All right,
pictures
I'll go
from
on.
the Spiel des Jahres.
Hey, keep your lips sealed down there. So El Grande plays with 2 to 5 players. It's set in Spain in the 15th century, and the main board is a map divided into several regions, and each region has a certain amount of victory points that can be scored for whoever has the most of their little cubes in there, which are called caballeros in this game. Your goal is pretty much to strategically place your caballeros in the regions and try to score more points than other people. But it's really super interesting how you do it. So you play 9 rounds, and after every 3 rounds, there's going to be a scoring phase where all the regions are going to score. So in between, you're going to be trying to position yourself to score more points than Bonacor, more than Corey, more than Matthew. That is your goal. So one of the first interesting things about the game is everybody starts the game with power cards, and they are numbered, I believe, 1 to 13. And these are cards you're going to play to bid for turn order for the round. So everybody's going to pick a card starting with whoever the first player is, and you're going to play one. Let's say I play 7, Bonacor plays 10, Matthew plays 13, I play 1. So whoever plays the highest card is going to get to go first. But once you play these cards, they're gone. So Matthew playing his 13 on the first turn of the game, that 13's gone, just so you know. So think about that. But yeah, then you're going to take turns in, a descending order from whoever played the highest power card. Some of the power cards, most of them are going to allow you to gain some cubes, some caballeros from the province, which is like the main supply, into your personal supply, which is your court. And that's part of the game. You got to manage having cubes so you can actually place them from your court onto the board. But then after you figure out if you're getting some new caballeros, then you're going to choose one of these 5 action cards that are available for the round. And let me tell you, the action cards are so cool because they're, number one, there's a variety of them. Number 2, this is another really tough decision point in the game because it's do you want to take an action card because you really want to do that thing? But then you're leaving something open for another player to take it and do something. So there's always this really cool decision process when you're figuring out which action card you want to take. But then you grab an action card. It's going to tell you you're allowed to place a certain amount of caballeros out. And then you also get to do some kind of special action, whatever's on that card. When you place caballeros out, there's going to be a big old king pawn on one region on the map, and you have to place in your caballeros into an adjacent region. Or there's this big Castillo tower thing, which is awesome, and you could drop cubes in there also, which will come into play later for scoring. But you have some choices there where you're placing your cubes. Then everybody's going to do that. Eventually, after 3 rounds, we're going to do our first scoring. And when we're scoring, before we score, we're going to look inside that the Castillo tower. Well, not quite yet. Before we look into the Castillo, we're going to all secretly select on a dial where we want our cubes that we stashed away into this tower to be placed before we score, which is really, really sneaky. So you have this dial, everybody's going to set it in, then we're going to lift the tower, see how many cubes are in there, and then each player is going to get to place their cubes in whatever region they secretly put onto their dial. And then we score all of the regions, and whoever has the most cubes there gets the most victory points, second most gets the second most, third gets the third most. You get bonus points if you have the most cubes in the the place where the king pawn is. You also, everybody starts the game with this grande, this big old block, which is really cool because I like big components in one of the regions. So if you are scoring in the region where your grande is, you're going to get extra points. There's so much awesomeness about this game. Number one, it still holds up after all of these years. It's still considered by many people to be one of the best area control games. It is one of my absolute favorite games. Like, this was a game that I played about a year and a half ago for the first time. I was kicking myself for waiting this long to play this game. And I was just like, yep, top 10 game for me. Top 10 game for me. It is so good. It's super competitive. Like, the decisions with the power cards and the placement of your caballeros and managing your caballeros, trying to get them into your court so you can balance placing them on the board versus, having them stuck in the province like that, all the different action cards. There's so much really cool player interaction with the action cards, because the action cards, like, you could do stuff like move the king pawn. You can move caballeros to different spaces, yours and your opponent's, all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's just such an elegant design. It's so clean, but there's so much variety that it's still so good. And yes, I'm sure someone will argue that it's like looks a little bit dated. Yes, it definitely has a classic feel to it. But I think when you have a game that's so good, especially at 5, like this game shines. I know Bonacor is going to agree with me here that the top player count for area control is usually the best in this game. It is the best. El Grande is the best game for 5 players. I rest my case.
Well, I just want to point out, and I hate to do this because it's in
You
Bonacor's
agree,
favor.
Corey? Oh, thank you.
El Grande is a good game. Amun-Re actually won the Kennerspiel recommendation, which was the precursor to the Kennerspiel, so it's not your only Spiel winner. Anyway,
Recommendations.
and the one-use cards and then it's gone. Gloria Mundi has that. So it feels old. It is
Fair.
a pure area control game. It's 25 years old at this point. First is not always best. It's a good game. No doubt. It's a good game. But it's so simple and everybody else has done it better. I mean, there's a reason we don't play Kalis a ton anymore. It's fine, but everyone else has done it better. If I want the experience of El Grande, I'm going to play Rumble Nation and I'm going to be done in 6 minutes. So,
wow.
I rest my case.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, burn.
Big
Ooh.
wow. Corey,
I know.
I can't believe
know.
you're so wrong.
And I'm probably the
When
only
you
one
have
here
such-
who remembers when it came out. Mostly because Bonacor is very forgetful.
Older, but more forgetful, of course. Matthew, any comments?
Yeah, so I wasn't even born yet when this. No, I'm just kidding.
I knew it. I was gonna say it.
It's pretty close, though, I bet.
It is pretty close. I was born, yes. I was like 3 when this game came out. So I have not actually
You probably would have understood
gotten
the
to play
mechanics
this one.
too.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed what Corey had said.
What'd you say, Corey?
Probably not that
I'm
important.
just being... Nope, not important ever.
But Matthew, go on. You were saying how
Yeah,
much
so,
you'd like to play this more?
I would actually like to try this game, El Grande, because I have heard a lot about it. It seems really cool in that it's simple and that it still has a depth of strategy to it in its area control. I enjoy area control. I just can't see why this game specifically you chose to be like, it's the best 5-player game out of anything that you could have chose.
Because
this
number one,
we played at 4.
You know, it can be played at 4, but it is best with 5. It plays in less than 2 hours, and it doesn't take all weekend like some people think Battlestar Galactica takes. And it's just like it's very accessible. Like you could teach anybody El Grande, and again, those decision points, chef's kiss.
All right.
I can teach anybody Battlestar Galactica. Don't worry, I got you.
So Candice, you literally like pulled words out of my mouth when you said this is the granddaddy of area control. I've used that many times, and
I might be quoting you. I don't know.
Maybe you heard me say it. I mean, I literally have said that 2 dozen times when I talk about various area control games. It was the first, or at least if it wasn't the first, it just set the standard for area control games. Kudos on that. And it is a great game, and it is best at 5 players. But sort of agreeing with Corey a little, I hate to do so, things get done better as time goes on. And area control in like Amun-Re is better than area control in El Grande. I'm just going to point that out, that we're both area control games. But I gotta give it to you that, El Grande is just, it really did do something for the hobby back in the mid-90s. And it was one of those pantheon of great games that hit the scene, Puerto Rico, Catan, right? El Grande. And I played the crap out of this game. I want to just quickly, sort of an aside, have you played with the mini expansions that were in the box? I've never played, I don't think, with any of them.
Nope.
So
maybe
many
one or two of them. There's they put 12 expansions in that big box. And I never played with any of them.
So, yeah, Matthew brought it up earlier. Can we just say that Mission Red Planet is better? It's the same.
No, we cannot.
Derek, can we edit that out? I don't want Corey's reputation to sink from that comment.
But also, when did I bring that up? I don't know.
It was before the show started.
It was before we even recorded, and I threw you under the bus because I think you're right. But yes, in 1997, it was better than the 10 other games that were out.
Unbelievable.
I can't wait to see what the comments are on this video.
I know. Well, obviously, Battlestar Galactica is the coolest one out of all of them. I mean, hands down.
Here we go. All right. So
it's got a cool factor. It's very cool.
May I close out the show now? Thank you, Corey. Thank you all.
Yes.
Today, we have tackled the very difficult topic of best games for 5 players. And we have to agree that there are a lot of great games that you can play when you have 5 players. I hope you all think that these choices were good, excellent, representative, of course, of the category. What do you think? Tell us in the comments for the show. Agree, disagree, say Bonacor is a big jerk, he's so mean, Corey is, ugh. Tell us what you think about everything. And in case, if you've forgotten, I am Stephen Bonacor, the podfather of gaming.
I am Candice Harris from BoardGameGeek.
I am Matthew McCack from Room 51.
And I'm Corey Thompson, the one who's obviously wrong in here. From Dice Tower Now, Dice Tower Dish, Above Board, Dice Tower News, all that, Board Game Insider.
And he's so
We
long-winded.
love you, Corey.
But we hope to see you all next time here on the Quad. Plus my very long-running podcast.
I was trying to kill that awkward silence that's usually in between us.
What's the last thing you're going to plug, Stephen?
Board Games Insider.
Okay, all right.
You'll hear it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So that's your cue, Candice.
I went a little long.
Yeah.
Okay.